Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for showing up. Welcome. The question really is, will robots talk to our clients in future? I'm not going to answer the question right now. I guess it's a rhetorical question. But all of us are confronted with artificial intelligence. I'm sure you know Siri, you know Alexa. On a daily basis, sit into your car. Have you ever tried, this voice messaging in the car? Call pizza and then they call your mom or something like that? It's not really reliable at this point in time, but we're getting there. It's getting better and better. And actually, while I was preparing this presentation, suddenly on the right side, PowerPoint, what happens? Shows up this message. Turn on intelligent services. I was like, okay, let's try it out. It's artificial intelligence. So the presentation from PowerPoint helps you to build a better presentation. So I turned it on. I tried to do it. Did I like it? No. So the next point is really, will artificial intelligence replace us humans? And the short answer really is no. You will still need somebody supervising this. You will still need somebody, do I like it? Don't I like it? Etc. Right? So if we move into the current situation, it's very much these problems that we're facing, right? So we have high internal costs for repetitive queries. If I talk to my people will tell me, I'm actually not doing what I should be doing. I have constant same inquiries from the clients. I have to do manual work for my clients. It's really annoying that I can't service my client as I would like to because I have constantly repetitive queries. The second point is, the resources are not allocated as they should be. So imagine a big, I'm from Switzerland, so a big Swiss bank. You have inquiries from maybe 4 or 5 different departments. Usually, and we made that analysis, the majority, or at least a big portion of these inquiries are always the same questions. There are questions about what status is my trade in, I would need, could you send me a printout of the SWIFT message, what happened on this corporate action, etc., etc. So it's constantly the same stuff. There is no structured dialogue with the client. It's a very simple question. So, I had the other day this situation, somebody asked me, I need a segregated account. Well, why would you need a segregated account? Well, I have to re-register these securities. So we're talking about Manchester United Securities. So you understand, the client really wants to re-register these securities to get the tickets. So do you really need a segregated account for this? Not necessarily. You can leave it in the omnibus account, but you can register the securities into the final beneficial owner's name. So it's the questions that we have to ask the client that really define the answer that you can give them. But you have to ask the right questions. So long waiting time, the 24/7 support. Do you really have to have people on the ground to answer queries 24/7? I mean, we run an operation mainly for Swiss clients, and we have some international clients. And, is it really necessary to run these operations for 24/7? If you analyze what queries come in during the night, could this be answered by artificial intelligence or a robot? It's a good question, right? So if we look at the whole evolution that we're under, so to tell you a story, I had a friend of mine telling me a story about his godchild. She's 18. So, and she has a 6 or 14-year-old cousin. And the 18-year-old girl tells him, I can't cope with the pace. I can't cope with the pace. Facebook's dead, according to the young people. My daughter tells me the same. She tells me, Dad, if you want to see me, put me on Instagram or Snapchat. But even Instagram is not getting the attention of the young people as, it was. So if we talk about Generation Alpha, who knows anything about Generation Alpha and who they are? So, thank you very much. So I had to Google it. So I Googled it, and the Generation Alpha are actually the kids of the millennials. They're 4 to 5 years old. So my middle daughter is 4.5, soon to be 5. I mean, She tells me, Dad, this is the app. You have to look right. And she grew up with an iPad. She grew up with a mobile phone. She handles the iPhone faster than I do. And I would consider myself as really, quite tech averse. So I know how this things work. But they grew up with it. It's intuitive. It's in their DNA. So the question really becomes, how will they work in 10 years? You can't ask them because, ask a 4-year-old, how do you see yourself in 10 years? She will be, I'm going to be a princess, right? So it's a different situation. So if we look at, where SIX Securities Services stands, we have about 250,000 emails a year. We have 100,000 calls, but we only have 2% drop-off that clients are not, get picked up on the phone. So if you're looking at these KPIs, we run a high-frequency desk that has an enormous amount of calls on a daily basis. So we went into the details, we analyzed these calls, and, I don't have the right number, but, 3/4 of the inquiries are always of the same nature. They're always of the same nature. Now, if we consider the discussions we had in the past 5 to 10 years, fixed cost, high fixed cost, very high fixed cost. How can we change our industry? I think this is the change game. This is what it's going to change. We can dramatically come down with the fees. So if you look at the customer experience changing, right? These guys don't want to have big emails. These guys don't want to have big explanations. They want to have a quick answer, and they want to have it now. Right? So if we look at this one, so it's a changing engagement and communication preferences. They want to have email. They want to have ideally something that interconnects directly into their system. And ideally, they don't want to talk to anybody on the phone. They want to either type something or they want to have the answer right away from a device. Right? The need for simplicity and availability, that's what I mentioned before. They want the answer and they want it now. So we really have to increase the speed here. I was following a poll one of my colleagues told me yesterday. Obviously 63%, is that right? 63% of the people in that poll said they don't do anything with artificial intelligence or robotics. 63%. 22% said they're looking into robotics. And the rest said we're not doing anything. Right? So that's a big number for not doing anything at the moment. And I think, the situation is picking up. Think about Japan. There are only around Tokyo about 150 companies developing human robots. 150 companies developing human robots, only human robots. We had a future scientist recently giving us a presentation, and he said in 5 to 6 years we'll all have a robot at home. Now, whether this is science fiction or not, it's a fact. We'll all have a robot at home. They will service us. They will do the laundry. They will cook for us. They will bring us a glass of water. So you can, tell your robot, I'm thirsty, bring me a glass of water. They're going to go to the kitchen. They're going to take the glass, and maybe they will break it because the glass, they touch it too strong. So what will the robot do? He will put this information up into the cloud, and 2 seconds later, on the other side of the world, the robot picks up a glass. He will pick up the glass correctly. The glass will not break. Isn't that scary? That's really scary. I mean, if you imagine that we're just about to experience something like this. Think about the car industry, right? Whether it's an Audi or a BMW, self-driving. There are 4 levels of self-driving. We reached level 3 with the new Audi 2018. I'm not paid by Audi, by the way. I'm not doing any commercials for them. But that's the fact. I mean, you sit into the car, and if the connection, you can exactly, you sit down, connectivity, it will connect your phone, it will check your next appointments, it will tell you you have to go there and there, it will automatically set up the navigation for you, it will automatically tell you these are the red lights that you have to be aware of, etc., right? So we're getting there, absolutely. If we look at the cost side, sorry, I was a bit too fast. Chatbot is the future. 80% of the companies want to integrate it by 2020. So we're talking about an integration of 2 to 3 years. SIX Securities Services started beginning of this year. We started at the beginning of this year to look into a chatbot. The idea was born with a very simple inquiry where, we have our host system. People tend to forget their password, so they have to call a service desk. They call the service desk, so you have people sitting at that desk doing nothing else than revoking passwords. Now, does this make sense? From my point of view, it doesn't make sense. I could use these people for doing something more valuable for the client. So, this person goes into our system, revokes the password, tells the client, the internal client on the phone, your password has been revoked, your new one is welcome 01. So, person goes in, here we go. We said we have to automate that. It has to be possible to do this with a chatbot. So what we will introduce in 2018 is actually a small little window on our iConnect, which is our internal web. People will go in there, will say, I forgot or my password got revoked. The system will realize, oh, this is it. And will ask, do you need a new password? What is your short description, whatever it is? And then it will automatically issue a password. The person or the people doing that used to have about 5 to 10 minutes for that. With artificial intelligence, with the chatbot, it's 30 seconds. 30 seconds. I know, I was just recently told, block trades, right? So you're in a dealing room, you have block trades, you have a trader sitting down and then starting to calculate, to look into it. So I know banks introducing artificial intelligence for these block trades. So processes that were exclusively reserved for traders will be done by artificial intelligence in the future, right? So the traders had an average of about 45 minutes for one block trade to really be safe that everything's okay, everything's good, everything is allocated correctly. Guess how long artificial intelligence has? From 45 minutes to? Any guess? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. That's crazy. That's really crazy. And I mean, if you think about this evolution, it's amazing how much time you can save, how much resources you can save, how much faster you can really execute all of this. It's tremendous. So this is our chatbot. It's not Alexa, it's not Siri, it's Jana. And why is it Jana? It's a good question, I don't know, because we like that name. We came up with a number of names and we did a poll internally and everybody said we want to do Jana. So Jana is SIX Securities Services chatbot, right? I'm going to give you a little, I hope, live demonstration how this really works. Because there is a written chatbot, so people can write, but there is also a spoken chatbot. And we've tried that. So Alexa met Jana, and Alexa is now really introducing us to Jana and how all of this works. This is why we need a specialist here. What's the status of my transaction?
Can you please confirm your order number?
My order number is 1021324.
Thank you. I see that your order is matched, but you requested a cancellation. Please contact your counterparty as they have not yet placed their cancellation request.
How many positions do I hold?
Let me check. Please tell me your ISIN.
My ISIN number is DE123456.
Thank you. And what is your safe custody account number?
Safe custody account number is 5468643.
I see that you have 67,005 positions.
Thank you, Janet. That was very helpful.
You're welcome, Nino.
Isn't that cool? That's amazing, right? So you don't really have to talk, you don't have to have a person on the other side. You can talk to Jana. And Jana will really help you in all of this. Did you hear the beginning, or do you want me to play it again? But the fact is, I mean, you have a natural interaction with a computer. Now, this is via Alexa into our Jana, but you know, in future, it will be any computer. It will be any car, I mean, my washing machine is sending us SMSs when they finish, you know, so it's crazy, right? And, you know, I told you about alpha kids, and I had to write that down, and I really want to read that quickly for you, so just to understand what the alpha kids are. Alpha kids will grow up with iPad in hand, never live without a smartphone, and have the ability to transfer a thought online in seconds. So a thought online in seconds. The massive technological change make Generation Alpha the most transformative generation ever. So it's coming up, right? So what are the benefits if we do that, right? You can reduce calls, so you don't have to have the big phone analysis anymore. You can reduce emails, reduce time. I mean, I guess if you talk to your clients, you probably, well, despite the fees, two main issues. It's the deadline of the transactions, you know, be corporate action or settlement or whatever. And the second one, or the third one, is response time. We have to keep pace with the response time. As I said before, they want to have it, and they want to have it now. It's 24/7 support. You don't necessarily have to have people on the ground, or at least not as much people as we have today. You can definitely cut that down. You have a dashboard with statistics, answer general questions, you know, static questions, very easy. But let's think about, you know, the emotions. We're not far away from artificial intelligence identifying through the tone of your voice whether you're mad, whether you're impatient, whether you know, okay or whatever. It's coming up. So we were in a future lab, and there was this little computer or a robot driving around and looking at you with a camera. And I mean, you know, in the first instance, really scary. I mean, what do you do here? So, you know, walking around, and then suddenly it catches somebody and say, "Oh, you need a coffee." So they identified this person is tired, and he said, "Yeah, I really need a coffee. I'm tired." And then, you know, you seem happy, you seem unhappy, you seem angry. So, you know, what prevented, or what prevents, from my point of view, artificial intelligence to show emotions or to learn emotions is capacity. That's one thing, but we're not far away. We're not far away. So soon we will have, you know, computers and really knowing whether you're angry, whether you're good, whether they should do something good to you. So it's really coming up. It's push notifications. You know, maybe the client doesn't even know that they have a question, and you can already send it out. If you figure out that something's wrong with the stock, you can already send it out to the client and make sure that they get the information ahead of everybody else. And it's, of course, the different channels, right? So you have to keep cope with what the client needs. So if the client wants to type, you can offer typing. If the client wants to talk, you can offer talking. So you have these various channels that you can offer to your clients. So when we get to the real USPs, or what's really the value delivery that we offer to our clients, you know, from a SIX Securities Services point of view, there are mainly four, but I want to focus on two of them. You know, one is the elevated customer experience. The client inquiries and expectations are increasing. You know, the younger the people get, the impatient they get, and they really want to have the information as quickly as possible. So, you know, when I told you the story about the 18 and the 14-year-old, this is exactly it. You know, the 18, you know, could be my daughter. She tells, I can't keep cope with how fast the 14-year-old is doing everything on social media and on the phone, et cetera, et cetera. And let's think about it. I mean, these will be our employees in the future on the bank side, on the infrastructure side, on the buy side, wherever it is, and they will have to have the answers. They will be very impatient. Decrease costs. You know, as I said before, for 10 years, for 15 years, as long as at least I'm in the business, which is 22 years, people are talking about very high fixed costs in the custody industry. And everybody said about we'll have less stock exchanges, we'll have less CSDs, we'll have less sub-custodians. I mean, in fact, what is happening, we have more stock exchanges with all the MTFs. We have, custody business really working very well. We have more and more of these things. So, how to decrease costs other than make the whole process efficient and reinvent the whole industry. And by reinventing the whole industry, you can only differentiate yourself by exactly introducing artificial intelligence and robotics. The other one is increased revenues and reduced risk. I think, especially on the reduced risking side, you have increased regulatory compliance. By introducing this, you can guarantee the regulator that answers or questions are answered the proper way. Right. So from a SIX Securities Services point of view, we are absolutely convinced, and now I'm coming back to my very first slide, and the question, will robots talk to our customers in the future? You can count on it. You can count on it 100% because at least SIX Securities Services will introduce chatbot in 2018, and then we will have robots talking to our clients. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm open for any questions or discussions or anything else. Thank you very much.